Tivoli?
Tivoli in the Strand.
Oh, yes.
And I was the youngest chief projectionist ever.
Really?
Well, what happened, I was born with a club foot.
Oh.
And I left school at 14, went to work in the cinema. My chief was 35 years of age.
Yes.
By 1940, I was 18.
Yes.
And I became a chief projectionist because
Fantastic.
they were all called up and I was
Yes.
kept, I was out of it.
Yes.
And then the Tivoli was bombed, I think in 1940. And on February the 21st, 1942, it opened up with a show with Tommy Hanley from Itmar, walking down the aisle, ringing his bell.
Wow.
And after that, I worked for the Army Kinematograph Corporation in Germany.
Oh,
and we opened the first cinema in this country, an army camp with CinemaScope with a robe when it first came out.
Where was that? Where were you?
It was Armcock, an army place. We re-equipped all the army cinemas in England.
Yes.
I think I looked after with two other fellas about 48 cinemas.
Really?
And re-equipped them.
What's your name?
Mr. Hammett, Jack Hammett, I'm known as.
Yes, oh, nice to meet you.
You too.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's about it.
Wow.
But it was a lovely life. I mean, during the war, we were leaving the chiefs for their days off for quite a long time all over London. So I'd done East London, West London and North London, 6 days a week to a different cinema each day to give the chief a day off. Because we only had 1 day off.
Were they Odeons or independents?
Gaumont British, I worked
Gaumont
for.
British?
And for a while, for about 4 months, I worked for 20th Century Fox. They had two film studios in Soho Square.
Yes.
And the border censors were bombed. Their cinema was bombed, so 20th Century Fox gave them one of theirs.
Right.
And I worked in the other one because when I was at the Tivoli, they had only one cinema, so we used to do press shows and trade shows for them. So I'd be there at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning rehearsing the film, and then they put it on about 9 o'clock for the press or the trade. After that, they'd open up to the public, and the public were allowed to go in. And all told, I was 18 then, all told we was doing 54 hours a week and more, because I had 3 projectionists to help me, and they were all under 18, and nobody under 18 was allowed to be in charge of a projection room.
Wow.
So I was working night and day.
Oh,
I loved every minute of it.
Oh, yeah.
But we were right at the top of the building, and all the Gaumont cinemas in London had telephone communication with one another. So as was the Tivoli, there was the Dominion, Astoria, Charing Cross Road, New Gallery, Regent Street, and the New Victoria. And when the bombers came over, we was right at the top of the building, and we used to phone one another. I used to phone the chief projectionist at the Tivoli or one at the other one, and chat to one another. But if you worked at the Dominion, it was right up in the dome, the projection room, and the time you had a half hour for supper. The time you got down to the Charing Cross Road or Tottenham Court Road, it was time to go back. So that was your half hour supper time. We had hour for dinner, hour and a half for tea, and half hour for supper. And then 54 hours a week was our normal time. And anything over that was overtime. But I was earning an awful lot of money. And we used to go home and throw the money on the bed with my mum. It was the first time we'd ever had any real money while I was made chief. Because it was only through the war that I got to be there. But it proved one thing, that most of the time you were waiting for dead man's shoes to get the next job. And so it was in those days.
Yeah. What projectors did you work on in the cinemas?
Everyone, Gaumont British, Cayley, Western Electric, or Gaumont made one, they called them, and also I went to the Clarence House one day, and they had the same projectors. They had the Gaumont British, we called it Cayley was one, Cayley was one, Ross was another.
Yes.
Ernemann was another, but that was in Germany.
Yes.
I went to Germany for 2 years and was running the German cinemas and getting them re-established and putting on shows for the troops. So I'd done that for 2 years. Because when I got engaged, I didn't have a lot of money, I was spending, so she said, you've got to get some money before we get married. So I went to Germany for 2 years and came back with enough money to pay the deposit on my house.
That's fantastic.
Our corporation, the Germans brought out a new form of lamp, which we called a xenon lamp.
Yes.
And it was used for the first time, and we were using it on the Army Kinematograph Corporation. And at the same time, Warner Brothers got to know about it, and they asked us to go down there and fit one. They had 3 projectors in their projection room, and we fitted a xenon lamp on one and an ordinary carbon lamp on the other, and we showed part 1 and part 1, 2 part 1s of Pyjama Game. And Warner Brothers was using Eastman colours, and the Zimmer lamp or the Xenon lamp enhanced the colour of that, but they didn't like it from the black and white point of view, so they didn't put it in. But that's what they tried to do, and we were there for about a week.
And what year was that?
That would be around about the 50s, I would think.
We all use Xenon lamps now.
Yeah,
no
right. But that's when they first came out.
Wow.
I was with the Army Kinematograph Corporation. I'd come back from Germany, so any time after 48, I got married in 48, and been married 52 years.
Congratulations. Wow.
Last Monday.
Excellent, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
Or when the air raids came, they were always put up a signal that the air raid was on the screen or on the slide. And we used, because all the projection rooms in London and most of the places were almost on the roof space or just below the roof space. So we were on the top of the building all the time. And we used to sit there, and I was doing a reliever for the chiefs for one day off each week. And I'd go to Gaumont Hammersmith, and that was after the bombing had come, and that was when the Dougal boats were coming over. So you could sit on the roof and watch the Dougal boat come over. I remember sitting on the, was it Palace in Islington? I forget the name of it. It was just on the corner. There was two. There was one at King's Cross, and there was Gaumont Palace. I think it was Islington. Right, the Angel. It was the Angel. We sat on the Angel and watched the Dougal boat come down there. And all the roofs I used to go to, from the projection room, you could see them come over, and you could see them stop, and you could see them go down, and then you could see the explosion. But you didn't know where it was. You had no idea where it was, but you could see all that. And that was about that, really.
Did you have any near misses to where you were at any given time?
We were, my own home, we were bombed out.
Oh.
And I was in the basement, and my mother and my sister were in the air raid cell. The little cat was killed with the bomb, with the blast. And then, of course, we were bombed out. I slept on the floor of a church for about two weeks. My mother lived with somebody else. My sister went somewhere else.
Wow.
And eventually we got another place. But during that time, I was young and I was foolish possibly. I used to go out every night when I had the air raid sightings and go around all the different places. And when the pub opposite the Maida Vale cinema was blown up, I lived just down the road in Maida Vale. So me and my pal shot down there, and we were the first to get there, and we pulled two people out of the bomb. It was called the Queen's Arms. And a few other places like that happened too.
Yeah.
A few places where they were set on fire, we went in there. And one place, you had to have a stirrup pump.
Yes.
It was so ridiculous, pumping the bloody stirrup pump on a what they call it. They were fire bombs, but the more water you put on, the more they bloody were burned. And so it was so funny. It was just hysterical, really.
Did many cinemas get hit?
I think there was two. I don't really know because I did hear of them after the war, but I never know at the time. No, we were dead lucky.
And did you keep showing the movie when the air raids were happening?
Oh yes, never shut down. We never shut the cinema once ever. I don't know any cinema that closed down.
And the people stay in?
Well, majority of them did. Sometimes they were half empty. Sometimes they were half, not half full, but half full, and sometimes they were nearly empty. But because there was no services, but from a lot of the cinemas, the Grandage Road and like that, and the Met was the music hall opposite.
Yes.
There was they used to go down the tube station, just run down the tube station, and every night I used to go home, and they were all sleeping on the railway stations all the way along. Every station was full solid with three bunks on top of one another, and from one end of the platform, of every station, there were people there, and then also on the platforms live. They go down there every night, night after night after night. But I'd leave the cinema about 10 or 11, and I'd go home by train, and so I used to see this every night. And that was how it was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How did you used to show a film just for a week?
Yes.
Yes.
And change the programme on Sunday.
Change on Sunday.
If it was at one small cinema, I think the cinema at Hoxton was a very small one, and they put two programmes on a week. But in the Army Kinema, we used to put three on a week. So we showed 7 days a week, but we equipped all the cinemas. And we even built they built what they call the Auchinleck Hall at Sandhurst.
Yes.
And we put in all the projectors there, and it was also a kind of demonstration place where they could demonstrate firing and ranges and all that, but also a cinema, and then they had another one that was at Scrivenham, which was the Military College of Science. We built a brand new cinema there, and they called it Broomhead, and that was the first time ever that we'd used completely automatic. We put in a projectomatic system.
Oh, projectomatic with the drum and the pins.
That's right. That was it. And that was the first time ever we used it with the Army Kinematograph Corporation. And there were a lot of them against it, and I was frightened out of my life, because all you had to do, what happened, when you strike a carbon arc,
Put a pellet.
that's right, when you put a pellet in,
Yes.
that's right, and then we put all the wire in. I sat down sometimes about 500 or 600 joins at night time on all this equipment,
Yes.
hours and hours and hours, and there was relay and contactors and everything else. And on the night, the governor was a Scotsman who was a lovely man. I mean, a lot of the rest of them didn't know their arse from their elbow, but he was an engineer. He apparently used to work on the trams before the war, but he was a major.
Yes.
And he was so lovely. And he said, now, not one of you is going to touch those bloody machines through this show. And we showed the Battle of the River Plate. That was, I think, I forget the name of the actor on it. And he came through the projection room afterwards, and everything was automatic. All we done was thread the machine, and we had a drum that came in during the intervals. It would close the curtains, it would open the curtains, it would dim the lights, it would up the lights, it would change over, it would put the record player on, it would take it off. It done the lot. And that was what it was all about.
Yeah. What year was that with Projectomatic?
I would say around about the 50s.
Yeah.
Because
I worked on Projectomatic.
Pardon?
I worked on Projectomatic in '65.
Did you?
Yes.
The first one I knew in London to have it was the Gaumont Empire.
Really?
Yeah, because they used to change from theatre to cinema quite frequently. And at the time, and the chap who invented it, he put it into the, there was another name for one. Very
Soldomatic.
Pardon?
A Soldomatic.
A Soldomate. That was the one he put in, I think, at the Gaumont Empire.
Yes.
And we put Projectomatic in, and I don't know who was that, but we met all the the governors, and they came down while we was installing it all. But there was contactors, there was relays, and they could even dim the house lights, have special dimmers that, they wouldn't dim. They all worked on the drum, so the drum would pull them in and open the curtains and close the curtains. Done the lot. We were almost redundant. Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you.
And now 77 on October the 17th.
Oh. Just out of curiosity, did you know Bernard Bentley? Because I think he did the Projectomatic.
Yes, he did.
Bernard,
that's right,
yes,
he did.
He did.
And he would possibly know my other partner, Percy Burrows, because there was three of us. And I had two assistants, but there was three of us looking after all the cinemas in this country. I think it was 48. Right down from Bude right up to Inverness.
Yes.
And all down the Welsh coast and Mentorship and all those places where they used to fire out from the sea.
Yeah.
And they were better equipped than the bloody Odeon cinemas. He wouldn't put in CinemaScope. We put in CinemaScope and 4-track magnetic in every one. We wired all the speakers in the hall. We've done all the wiring ourselves, just the four of us. And we even fitted the screens. And the screens were made in Kensal Road. By
was it Hartman?
Hartman.
Yes.
And he used to make all our screens. I mean, we knew him like a brother.
Goes,
That's right.
Hartman's Hall now.
That's right. He was the one. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But enormous. But he delivered them. We had to put them all together. And of course, there was all the cabling around because the masking went in at the side and up and down at the top and bottom. You had three different sizes: widescreen, normal, and then CinemaScope.
Yes.
So you had three positions on the push buttons, to bring the screen into the right. And then you had to change the anamorphic lens.
That's right. What I like seeing was like two projectors on a steep rake.
The worst rakes I know of was at the Tivoli, at Dominion Tottenham Court Road and Ealing Broadway. We used to call them hole in the wall and bloody projection rooms, but it was absolutely that angle. It really was that angle, going down that angle. Tremendous angle. And you were sitting there and the bloody arc lamp was up here and the lens was almost on the floor. And it was rather funny feeding the carbons and everything else. I mean, they were automatically fed because
what they did.
Yeah, they had motor driven, but see what happened is the amperage as they parted, the amperage decreased and the voltage increased to sped the feed motor up. So they kept up in time almost. Occasionally they broke. Twice we've had carbon break, and I've managed to open the bloody arc lamp and put a new one in and bang it in quickly. So, but you have a slight blackout.
Did you ever used to use carbon misers to join two carbons together?
No, never.
No,
never. Well, all the big Gaumont cinemas had Hall and Connolly arcs, and they were enormous things. It was burning 150 amps. Whereas after that, they brought in the peerless arc and all the others with the mirrors on 12 and 8-inch mirrors. And they were only burning about 60 amps, and the carbons were thinner, almost as thin as my finger.
That's right.
Ours were great big thick ones. And the positive
were they copper coated?
No, it all was, but they weren't in the Hall and Connolly arc. And I used to get accused of calling the Tivoli the finest fucking light in London, burning 150 amps, and it was such a bloody big show.
Yes.
And that was it. But the positive had to rotate, and so that was rotating all the time. It was a bit that length.
Yes.
But it's still needed. You know, you only got about 2 20-minute rolls out of it.
Yes.
And my old chief, when I started I started at the Tatler Charing Cross Road. I left school and he sent me there, and then he said, "You're so big, I can send you to normal cinema because you weren't supposed to be in the projection room under 16 or 14, 15, 16, I think." So I started at Grandage Road, a month in the Tatler and Charing Cross Road, and then I was sent to Grandage Road. I ended up there during the war as a chief, and then I went out and about and done all the rest of it after that. Still be going for a long time. And that was how it went on.
Wow. You must have worked on nitrate stock.
All nitrate.
Did you have any go up on you?
No, never, not once. I've heard of about 2 or 3 in the time, but you know, they were just talking in the trade, I suppose. Because I went to so many cinemas that somebody knew somebody at almost every Gaumont cinemas.
Yes.
I didn't get south of the Thames though, and there was a lot of Gaumont cinemas south of the Thames. Right. I never got there. But I met some of them, some of the ex-chiefs from south of the Thames, working for the Army Kinematograph Corporation after the war. And they were running some of the army cinemas. I didn't like working on the camp. I didn't mind putting the cinema in, but I didn't like relieving the chiefs on the army camps. It was monotonous because you'd done one show a day and you're bored out of your mind and it was away from home.
Yes.
All I wanted to do was to get home.
Yeah.
So I packed that up and became an engineer with the Army Kinematograph Corporation. I was there with them for about 15 years or something like that. I had a lovely time. And then of course they also brought in television in those days, and we were installing television all around the army camps. I even put an area on the castle at Dover.
No.
I had to climb up there with a rope round the chimney there, and me and my pal were up there putting an area on the Dover Castle. Wow. We put the equipment in Fort George in Scotland and all those. I can name so many army camps. I mean, like all of them really. Oh. And we used to do about nearly 1,000 miles a week travelling. Wow. And all the hours God Almighty sent.
Amazing.
We used to try and get home for the weekends.
Yeah.
And between you and I, the government was so good that because we never stopped. We worked night and day, and so we went. The only reason we went all over the country was to earn because we got expenses. So we had our beds on board. We put the beds in the projection room. We had a fire and a kettle and a teapot, and we sleep in the projection room as we changed it over. So we got it all ready, and then one night we changed over, and the next night opened up with the cinemascope or whatever.
Yes.
And we'd always try and get ready finished on the Friday. And also we'd work sometimes night and day. You see the dawn come up. So when we got back, the governor would say, I'll see you on about Tuesday next week, he said, and he'd give us our expenses for the next 3 or 4 days because they wouldn't pay overtime. And we'd done so many hours because you were governed really to 30 miles an hour. And so to get up to even to Carlisle, Adrian's camp at Carlisle, you're supposed to take 13 hours. Well, we were doing 60 all the bloody time with eyes in their arse, really, looking at every side road to find out whether they got. And I never got pinched once in all the 12 years. 2 of them did, but I didn't. So, of course, we'd make up that time. So sometimes, if I was going to Carlisle, and I'd leave the depot on a Monday, instead of going to Carlisle Monday night, I'd go home. Get up early in the morning and go straight to Carlisle. So, because if I left on Monday, we wouldn't be there till late Monday night if we travelled at 30 miles an hour. So we'd have another day at home, push off up to Carlisle, do it. Then I always tried to get out of there Thursday night. So we got home for Friday, and 9 times out we did. And if we were left up, if it was a big job, we'd have to make 2 weeks of it. But we generally worked from Tuesday to Thursday, really. But all through the night and day sometimes, and you're so tired, you would just go to sleep and get up. But by working the extra hours straight off rather than packing up every night and going out, you got the job done so much quicker and so much easier. You really did.
Fantastic.
So that's what it's all about, the life of a projectionist. While we're leaving giving the chiefs a day off, one of the cinemas I used to visit was the Gaumont Haymarket, another one was the Dominion, another one was in Australia. But the Gaumont Haymarket, we previewed, I think, European preview of a film with Margaret Lockwood. I can't quite remember the name of the film, but she ran there was a prelude. Do you call it? What do you call it? What do you call a prelude? Preface.
A preview.
No,
Premiere?
No, but there was just a trailer.
Oh yeah, trailer. Yeah.
It was a trailer that she spoke about the film and all about it.
Promo.
That's right. Before the film, it was stuck on before the censor, and after the censor, obviously the film came up. And that was at the Gaumont Haymarket. And they had an organ there, had an organ at the Ambassador Hendon that we used to play around with and bring it up in the morning, put the spotlight and play a few tunes.
Really?
One finger, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Oh, so it was there, and there was I'm trying to think of the man that played the organ there. The one that played it at the State, because the State was funny. I went to the State once, but I never got sent there as a projectionist, because although it was a Gaumont cinema. Went to the Grange opposite. Grange was on the corner.
Yes.
Grange, and there was the one Palace at Belsize Road, and there was the Maid of Our Picture House, and then there was the Grandisher Road, and then there was the Marble Arch Pavilion, and then there's the new gallery, and then there was the Tivoli, and then there was, well, you know the rest of them.
Yes, yes.
And then there was Bohemia Finchley, and the Finchley roundabout, the main circle. There was Palace Finchley, Palace Gaumont at Hammersmith, the Gaumont Palace at Chelsea, and Coronet Notting Hill Gate, and I got to the pavilion at Shepherd's Bush the morning after it was bombed. It was bombed on a Friday, and I was relieving the chief on the Saturday. Because we didn't show any film, but we cleared up the bloody rubbish, and it started re-equipping it. And the globe action was a mile bloody long, but the Grandisher Road was the longest throw in Europe, I understood. It was 130 feet from the projection room to the screen.
Yes.
Yes. I understood at the time that it was the longest throw from the projection room to the screen in Europe. I may be wrong about that.
Yeah, probably at the time, yes.
I think it was. I'm not sure. That's why you needed 150 amps and that on the arc lamp. But all the throws, I mean, the Dominion throw was long, and the Tivoli throw was long, because they were up in the bloody domes, so they needed 150 amps. Otherwise, and if it was a foggy day, you couldn't see the bloody screen from the projection room.
Really?
No, you really couldn't. Although we put all the extract fans on and everything else, occasionally you couldn't. Not from the projection room, they could see it from some of the maybe the front stalls or the front circle, but I don't know about the rest of the time. But it used to be covered. But you got 2,000 people smoking in the bloody fog and everything else. It was a bit. And I've been smoking all my life, and I'm 77 coming up. So, well, he was called Tomberson. And the funny thing was, as I said, I was born with a club foot, and I went to a cripple school, and apparently his daughter, his sister, was also there. And he didn't find this out until some time after I got there, and I didn't. I mean, I never mentioned it. I don't know how he got the figure out. So, of course, he said, my father had run away, I had no father, and so he seemed to take me under his wing, and because you're always rewiring and doing some conduit work or whatever, put servicing on the boilers or the fans on the motors, and whenever he had anything to do, he always used to take me with him. So because I wasn't all that much bloody up in the box, because all I'd done was rewind or lace up. I didn't do anything. I wouldn't scrub the floors and get the tea. So he used to take me with him, and that time was the learning time, a learning time in my life.
Well, he was tough.
Oh, he was hard, but he was kind in his own way, but he was tough. If I was a minute late and I'd come back on my bike and he'd say, "You're a minute late," I said, "Well, I'll make it up." He said, "You can't make that minute up." And he really was tough in that respect. And occasionally I used to scrub the floor, and we used to paint the floor with light liquid liner and put white lines all around the equipment. And never did he say anything. And he caught me on the back stairs crying my eyes out. I said, "I can't do anything bloody all right, can I, for you? Doesn't matter what I do, it's not good enough." And so he still took me under his wings. And we got on very well. Because I say, as I got his job, he got the chief engineer's job in that area. So he used to come around. And one day, the other chief engineer before him was a chap named Reynolds. And I had two boys of about 17. And Reynolds came round, and I had a couple of bottles of sherry that I bought for the staff, for the projectionists. And he opened these, and I got so drunk, I was paralytic almost. And the young boy of 16 was running the show, and the manager came up, and apparently I told me after he pulled his hair out, he was frightened out of his life because he wasn't allowed to be in charge of it. But this happened one Christmas, and the chap, his name was Reynolds. He was an engineer. He was based at Shepherd's Bush Pavilion, and his wife was the chief projectionist, I think, at the Gaumont in Chelsea. Mrs. Reynolds was the chief, and he was the chief engineer. So, a bit of Nesbitt there. she got the chief's job before I did. That was about the truth of it. Don't know anything else really. That's about the end of the story.
Okay, thank you.